Hello and welcome to Music with Brylie. Today we're going to be working on some gentle piano. I've got a preset here loaded up in piano verse. Okay, so that was piano verse. The preset is called North Atlantic, and it's from the Piano Verse Concert Grand YF3. It's kind of a Yamaha Concert Grand. Just use the preset straight away. Now you probably noticed it had a lot of ambience and some kind of modulation sounds, so like drifting sounds. Let's take a look at the preset settings, and then we'll go ahead and edit this recording, and I'll try to publish that today. So one really fun part of the Pianoverse plugins in general, if you get one piano or all of them, is they have these whole bunch of different spaces, like I guess they're impulse response, simulating some spaces, like here being on an iceberg. Hence the North Atlantic theme, I suppose. I'm going to leave this plugin as it is. I won't tweak the preset too much. I may want to tame those kind of waves, but they weren't too bad. They weren't too bad. They weren't out of control. The next page is the mix, so you can see you can mix how much your mic position, EQ, the parametric EQ, how much space is coming into the mix. So it looks like you can have multiple EQs and compressors. I just am getting the plugin, so I'm learning how it works. And then a master bus, which brings us to the particles. And this is where you can kind of see we have a plate reverb enabled and the particles enabled. I don't want to tweak them too much, but we have these nice LFOs that can be used to modulate certain settings. There's a delay in there. I'm definitely hearing delay. Maybe it's coming from the particles, the feedback particles, because it doesn't seem like this would be something that a plate reverb would do. And this relab isn't a name. All right, so that's Pianoverse. If those kind of wobbly transients get out of hand, I might tweak the macro knobs here. I think it's the reflections. It's at 48 right now. Seems to mainly be in the low, but it's not always. It does sound cool though. And that's sort of where I want to take this current album I'm working on. It's more towards not like a prepared piano sound, but a hybrid acoustic electronic. So some ambience, some effects processing, maybe even some synthesizers layered in or other instruments for texture. We'll see how that shapes up. That's just a general idea. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I had adaptive tempo enabled. I'm going to just bring this back to the beginning because I started playing a little bit late. And that'll bring my whole tempo thing. Actually, yeah, I'll do that one move. We'll save. And then I'm going to create a project alternative. So I have this peaceful moment. It sort of reminded me of the morning coffee type of situation where you're just in your own little space. And the first thing I'll do is create a new alternative. We'll work with the velocities. And essentially, I want to preserve the original recording because I may want to go back. I'm learning as I go, so I of course, will learn new techniques. And for as long as possible, I'm going to try to preserve this tempo map, which interestingly went down as I was playing faster. Almost as low as, 50 BPM here, below 50 BPM here. Interesting. And I'm going to edit this, and if I bring up the modulation and the velocity channels where I'm at right now, we can see my velocities are all over the place, particularly in this plugin. It was just such a delicate thing. So my goal is to just compress the velocities. I think I want a little bit of lift to bring them up to around, floor of 20% while preserving their relative ratios. And a little bit of downward compression. So they'll be in this range here. The best way I've figured out to do this, and I'm not super satisfied with it, is to go to functions, MIDI transform, and there's either fixed velocity, random velocity, exponential velocity, velocity limiter. It's essentially a limiter with upward limiting that I'm trying to apply. It's any of these velocity functions. What I'm not super satisfied with is the interface. I have to be very precise to draw the curve, and my hand's not precise. So I would kind of like a more of like a sort of like the automation curve editor interface here. But this is essentially what I'm after, except when you have it this hard, it creates this plateau effect. So what I want to do is use a map and I think if I just try to draw a linear line, that even might be what I'm after. Except I don't want it to be super high. I want it to be like in this range. Here. And if I could just draw a line and not have to do all that, that would be nice. Maybe there's a different way of doing it, like a plugin or something I could pass through MIDI effects. Anyway, I think that's kind of good. And then once I've got that, I can just do that or something. Cool. So we'll save this. That's the artifact I'm hearing. It's kind of like an analog delay artifact, the tape delay. Okay, so this other part I just need to do real quick is just shorten the track length to what we actually recorded. Yeah. Just kind of weird I can't get to that. Can I do it this way? And it's around 105, 113. Let's start here. So there weren't too many notes that went astray. I sort of play the kind of the just white notes, so I'm quantizing a piece like this. So we'll listen to it from the beginning. It's those onsets. And I've seen other YouTube reviewers, like, they're cringy. air crazy. It's the analog delay that's being modulated. You get the hit right when modulation's happening, and then it gets kind of caught in the feedback loop. So my way around this could be, there's a couple of options here. It's either happening when I clear the sustain. Didn't happen there. It's unpredictable. I hope Pianoverse is aware of this and watching the reviewers. Facial expressions when they hear that on all these presets. They gave it a name, maybe. It is definitely the feedback in the particles engine. And if I'm just after this ambiance, bring back the feedback. See, no, it's still there. Could be on the master bus. It's in the space itself. That's really unfortunate. It's not something you can dial back without taking the whole space out. Man. All right. So just something to be aware of when I see this. When I was reviewing the piano verse, I was checking out what other artists, people who are hopefully neutral were saying about it. And literally almost every video that hit some of these spaces, they would back off the space because of these. I think it's because of the analog delay artifact. It's just it's really hard to control, and it's really kind of like, it can be a creative thing that you want to add, but it should be something you definitely can not have. And for example, when I'm doing modular or other synthesis where I'm adding these delays, I'll typically use like more digital than an analog delay when there's modulation involved because of this tape warping effect that you get. It kind of detracts from the sound. And that's funny because I turned all of these down. And none of them I completely isolated it. So I don't know what these represent. They're ambiguously named. There it is. So I can't have it in current. There it is. It's not so bad now, but when you hear it, it's hard to not hear anymore. It's even just there without anything. You have to just totally kill the space. It's beautiful without, unfortunately. So I will embrace it. I'll just dial it back. So I'm going to go back to this North Atlantic. Just load in the default. And we're at minus 9.4. I'm just going to take it down to like minus 14, minus 15. I'll think about writing an email to Pianoverse. I'm sure they're aware of it, but just to draw their attention to it. And reference a couple of other YouTube videos. It really limits the usefulness of these spaces. What I'm wondering then, I don't know how this works, but if the impulse response has just some contours in there, it's feeding back, it's a feedback thing. Because delay and reverb are like basically the same process. So the impulse response could have some delay cascades that are really close to each other, like a tape being modulated in slow delay time. It just creates a series of reflections, and then those get fed through like a longer delay, like on the millisecond range, and creates this wall. So it's a two-layer thing. otherwise, it's great. I really like piano verse. It's just this one weird thing about it. So we will now create a project called Eminem. I think we're ready to roll. Saving this one. So the one thing I do before mixing and mastering, I'm light touch on mixing and mastering too, so don't hate me. We're going to take our volume and fade it out to 0 at the length of the song we want. That's about right. Great. Now I'll just put this here if it all works. Sometimes it doesn't. Let me do that. Put this here. Save it. All right, so what we're gonna do is just add our audio effect. Neutron 5, stereo. I'll just tell it to listen real quick. It's just gonna do some automatic cleanup. So the next part, I'm going to turn down. Even when I hit stop, it gets that artifact in there. It's any transient right in the middle of the modulation, on or off. Save. We will now add ozone. I'm going to turn it down while ozone does its thing, because it's going to add like 10 decibels. Mixing it to EDM. The other ones have been EDM and jazz, a mixture of both. Because of the spaciousness on this track, I think the EDM is a better choice. It is clipping a bit, so what we're going to do is remove that clipping. It's hitting on the ceiling, and you can see that by adding this loudness meter and just going back a little bit. Right away, we need to subtract like 5 minutes. Target. So we need to subtract 5. Yeah, so those spaces, the piano bar spaces are more than just convolution. There's some processing chain going on in there that has a feedback loop. I don't think convolution does that. I don't think convolution has a feedback loop. Maybe. I don't know how it works. Convolution and like reverb and delay are fundamentally the same, though, as far as I understand, just on different time scales. So but reverb doesn't have like a feedback, or does it? It bounces back and forth, so it's in a way that's kind of feedback. Interesting. I suppose so. It has resonances and things like that. Okay, so let's essentially let's try to bounce this now, and we'll watch the meter selection. Okay, so from 0 to 97 sounds about right. Oops. This is strange. Place to end it, but let's just try 97. That doesn't matter really. Is that right? Peaceful. Yeah. Sort of like new age piano. We'll do that though. Cool. All right, so then what we'll do is grab this peaceful moment, copy that, and we'll bounce. I'll watch my loudness range. I'd like it to be under 10. Problem is, this song has really long build, almost 1 minute before it gets up towards our target. I might have subtracted too much. But it could also have like a louder crescendo sort of part, and we can balance that out. But subtracting 5 was just a ballpark, and I was zeroed in on like a loud segment, so it didn't give our overall average. So it seems like we have a unimodal distribution, which is kind of cool. It's like kind of centered around, it just has a big, smooth distribution of frequencies, of loudness measurements. Let's see what we get. It's pretty stable after about a minute and a half. So we do have a good cushion at the end of that. So overall, just based on this as it is, I would just need to add a little bit. But I'd like to take a look real quick at the first minute and a half. And see, for example, if I can just take these note velocities up. I think part of it might be also the note range. There's higher notes than less bass notes, perhaps. Let's see. Yeah, see, it's also very thin. So that's kind of to be expected. The bass has a lot more energy, but this is perceptual, it's left. So, but let's see, for example, if I come here, our first bass note comes in at a minute. Right, so it is very delicate up until that point. About a minute and a half. But I also see there is a bit I can do with these velocities. So if I grab these, I can just bring them up a little bit. And I can also see this at the end where it did have that crescendo. One thing I could do is everything below C2, I could try to have that a bit low in the mix, sitting back. Everything above C2 can come over from. Back down. Back into the range. So it's a narrow, it's compression, but it's also then I'm compressing based on frequency range. So that alone should affect our overall LUFS value. So let's just run another bounce. I could have handled that back in the velocities section. I'll remember that for the next time that I'm doing kind of frequency-based ones. Bounce. It'd be kind of cool to make a plugin that could do that, or like a script. I know Logic does support kind of like a scripting thing. I don't know how, if it can affect, if I can make a script that can run and affect just the velocities and replace that. Sort of be non-destructive that I could, or at least undo it. It would be destructive. Non-destructive would be like an insert, like a MIDI effect. Which is, I think, how you make these scripts. They're like effects you put in a slot, like an insert slot. Okay, I'll look more into that. Save myself some time. We'll bring up Uline in a moment. Check. Our last one was like minus 14.8, which is actually a pretty good range. But the loudness range, and in particular the introductory section here, where it is light, sort of cascading into the deeper tones. And then it does have, you can see the density increases, the range increases, the dynamic range of the pitches. But also there was some velocity. I was playing harder here as well, so I've kind of smoothed that out. And now I can almost see that there's an average where it kind of, I've introduced more velocity up front, and sort of smooth out here. And I can also start to see now this gradient since I did the high-lows, where these are like bluer and these are greener. That's cool. It's like my left hand playing more gently, which it kind of should, although it would be nice if I could, yeah, really cleanly distinguish them. Because this is right hand gesture here, I think. Yeah, this is my left hand. Block chords. I'm working on that. Block chords, shell voicings. I'll try to get some more left-hand patterns to play. Okay, so now if we bring up Ulean loudness meter, hopefully it'll have that. Yeah, it automatically did. Now we're at minus 14.4, so it did tighten it up, and we can see the intro in particular, if I go to 6 minutes. Oh no, that's good. Is cleaner. And we just have this crescendo at the end. So if I subtract, 0.5, I think we're actually probably pretty good. It's just because in this chord cluster is all high in velocity. So if I it's really just right in here. Everything adds up though at the end here. It's not bad though. Still overall, I'll bring it down. We'll call it good. And I'll publish this one today. So yeah, this has been another Music with Brylie. The rest of this session is just going to be me kind of getting closer to minus 14 lefts, not precisely, but close enough. So I'll bounce. The reason I do this, one, I do want to avoid the loudness wars and clipping, analog domain clipping, but also just because I'm publishing an album and I'm publishing on streaming platforms, I want to have kind of the range consistent across at least the album, as well as with other, the platforms will also adjust the volume as well. So that's my rationale. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. I hope you're doing well and have a great day.